may not be familiar with our Productivity Thursdays webcast. We do offer this once a month. This month is Automate Microsoft Teams creations and approvals. For April, we have integrations with Power Automate. And for May, we have Extend Project for the web with PowerApps. We do have another series that is relatively new, which is our Solution 101 series. This is more for a beginner's approach to things that you may not be familiar with. So for March, for example, we did Power Automate 101. For April will be Power BI 101. And for May is Project for the Web. These are 30-minute sessions. We started to say really high level. And as always, if there's something on here you want to see that you haven't, please let us know. We're happy to put one together for you. We love hearing feedback from you guys. And so for those who may not know who we are Marquee 360. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. We focus on cloud productivity, project and portfolio management, and collaboration. We have locations here in the United States, Canada, and Europe. Our founders are ex-Microsoft employees, so that allows us to have a strong relationship with the Microsoft product teams, field, and the strategic customers. And our focus is on the digital transformation using the 365 platforms, whether that be Teams, Microsoft Work Management, and the whole Power Platform. And since we've started, our focus has always been on customer success and being a trusted advisor to you and extending that Microsoft solution to enable a better user experience for you, the end user. And within that, some of the main areas that we focus on are project, Teams with planner integration, Power BI reports and dashboards, Power Automate workflows, and of course, PowerApps. And outside of that, we do offer prepackaged solutions for this. We offer consulting services around these, as well as support options. So once again, you guys, thanks so much for coming today. I am going to pass it off to Aaron so that we can talk about why you want to automate Teams.
I think I was going to take this one.
Oh, is that you, Neil? All right. Well, Neil, it's all yours.
Yeah. So why would we want to automate Teams? So Teams is, typically a big part of your, collaboration process. For either different company functions, different department functions, group functions, and particularly with COVID, the adoption of Teams has gone through the roof in the past year. Which means that from an IT perspective, there's been kind of a viral growth of Microsoft Teams. So Teams are being created for all types of different purposes. How do you control that? How do you kind of put a lid on it a little bit from that, incredible growth that we've been seeing? So a couple of things that we want to look at is, we are a Power Platform partner, so we're leveraging the Power Platform to automate the creation of Microsoft Teams, and also putting some governance and some process around the creation of those teams. So by leveraging the Power Platform and leveraging PowerApps, Power Automate, and connecting them with Microsoft Teams, we can have some centralized locations where teams will be spun up instead of just employees creating teams on their own. They can go through some kind of an approval process. It also gives you just some overall governance. You get an idea of what are the different teams that have been created, who requested them, when are they needed, when are they no longer needed. And then because we would have that automated process, it also gives us the ability to templatize the creation of Microsoft Teams. And you'll see some of that today. So you can set up templates for different purposes. Now, Microsoft has some templates, which you'll see some of those today. But we can also extend those templates and create our own templates. So if you have a very specific business process, we can build it off of that as well. And today we're going to show you two different Power Apps that we've built. One to do overall Teams governance, and then also one that's a more specific process around project management and project intake. So I'm going to hand it over to Erin, and she's going to demonstrate the Governance 360 Teams Governance app.
Thanks, Neil. Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. So let me share. So like Neil is saying, we've been hearing from customers that they have a lot of teams that are coming up, and end users are able to just go in and create teams, and there's really no standards or policies around which teams are being created, for what reason, how many are being created. So we created the Governance 360 apps to give end users a central location to input their team's requests. So you're going to see a form, and it's going to take all the information that your supervisors or your organization has deemed necessary for you to be able to create a team. So I'm going to show you guys how it works. So this is from an end user perspective. So we're going to use an example of like a store. So say I'm a store manager and we have a bunch of initiatives coming up. And I know that we're going to need a lot of collaboration, files to share, things like that. So I'm going to go in here in my Teams Governance app, and I'm going to create a request. And I'm going to put me as the owner and some members. I know Deepika is on the team. And I know I need Josh on here as well. And we're going to add Neil too. Neil's going to be our GM for this example today, our general manager. So we can leave it public because it's okay if other people can see it in the organization. My template I'm going to choose is retail store. And we need it by, I'm going to say the 1st. And we're going to use it, we'll say up until June 1st. And our team name, so we're going to be retail store. Okay. And in my description, I'm just going to copy and paste the same thing for demo purposes. And my business justification, I'm going to say collaborate on initiatives. And then I'm going to create my request. So here I can see my one request is pending. So that's going to go straight to my systems admin. So I'm going to change hats for a second here and act as a systems admin and go into a different username where I can see all the requests. So I'm going to refresh. And here's a new request just popped up. So I'm going to actually go ahead and, as a systems admin, just check this out. Make sure I have all the information that I need. And I know that this hasn't been created before, so I'm going to go ahead and approve this. So as that's approving, it's going to create a team. And like Neil said, we do have templates here. So these templates will give you tabs and channels already designated into teams. So when my team does pop up, it's going to have all those things created for me already, so I can get started much faster than normal. And it's going to be related to a retail team, what we would need. And like Neil said, some of those are provided by Microsoft, and we have some custom ones that we've created as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. So this is the retail team template. And in my general tab, my general channel, I have post files, and I created a task tab. So here we have all the tasks that we're working on with our new initiatives. And if I wanted to add a task, everyone from my team, I'm able to create a task for. Let's see, new. I'm going to set a due date. I'm going to assign this to Deepika. So you can see everyone that I added to the channel the team in the Teams Governance app is available to assign tasks to. I'll just add that in. And I also added a notebook, just your standard OneNote, that we can take notes on and collaborate with. There's 2 hidden channels, and these were also created with, oh, there it is. See, our retail store came through. So here's the one that we just created, but I'll show you the hidden channels in this one. So it comes with a learning channel. And in the learning channel, there's posts, files, and wikis if you want to add any files here for training. Any kind of documentation the other team members should see, you can add it here. I did create a training whiteboard. So you guys, the team can collaborate on here and take any notes from training. And then the other hidden channel is shift handoff. And this came with the template as well. So the template had post, files, and wiki, and I added a channel calendar. As a manager, I would like to be able to create the schedule of who's doing what, when, who's working when, and the whole team can see this. And then for collaboration, I added a Yammer group, and I think in Teams it's actually called communities. So I added this tab, and you can see we can talk about who's doing what, which shift, and what the handoff's going to look like there, and just give some kudos out to our team members. So the Teams Governance app created our retail store A initiatives here already. So you can see I can add tabs. All of my team members are on here. So, and as this flow keeps working, we're going to get those channels. They'll be added in here as well.
Right. So, Aaron, the templates, they can include the team, obviously, but also channels, whether they're viewable to everybody or private channels. And then the adding of the apps inside those channels can be part of the template as well. So exactly. You can see in hers, it's still executing and building out the overall team, but it's pretty nice if you do want to standardize what a team's going to look like and what apps are being used for that process or that particular area.
Exactly. Does anyone have any questions about the Governance 360 app?
My only question is it does a lot of things, but how do you, from an organizational standpoint, like how, I guess, trying to determine what your standard is and how it's used? I don't know if you have any guidance on that, just so that things don't get kind of chaotic. I mean, the calendar's straightforward, but the Yammer.
Yeah. So you might have jumped in before Erin started her part of the demo. So what we have is a Teams Governance app, and basically that is the process that people would go through to request it, and then it would automatically generate it. That way, as we were saying, Teams can be used for a lot of different things, and if you don't have any governance around it, what tends to happen is people are creating teams for different purposes. They might not even use them after a while. They kind of get abandoned. You have this, kind of a viral effect with these different teams popping up all over the place. So with this app, this is a Power App that we developed. Your IT team or whoever's going to be responsible for Teams governance would receive the request from the end users, and then they can evaluate that request, either approve it, reject it, control which templates are going to be available to create a Microsoft team. And this is extensible as well, right? So if you, one thing we do with this app typically is if a customer wants a particular template developed for them, maybe it's for a sales process, for example, and they're using Salesforce, we can integrate with that, have a template related to that, so that when a sales opportunities coming through the pipeline, a Microsoft team gets spun up with a specific format. And Tina, in your case, with Project Online, I'm going to demo in a couple minutes how to use it with Project Online as well. How to use a way to templatize and set up Microsoft Teams specifically for project management.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yep.
So just to reiterate, I just wanted to go in and show you guys the end user side. So now I can see my team was created, so I can constantly check the status of where my request is at. So we can see the team was created, and from an admin perspective, you can also see how many teams are created overall. So you have some insights as to how many are live. And also, just as an example, I know I create teams in here all the time, so even I have to reject some myself. If I see duplicates, like this one was a duplicate that I rejected. So you do have the power to say, this is a duplicate, we don't need this one.
And with the end date as well, when the user fills it out, they can put in an end date of when they don't think they'll need it anymore. IT can then monitor that, follow up on that, see if whether or not that team should be archived or deleted at that point, or is it still in use?
All right.
All right.
Any other questions?
Okay. So let me jump in here, and what I'm going to do is demonstrate how to use, similar concept. How do we use a Power App, but for a more specific process? So as I mentioned, we've done this with some customers where they have Salesforce as their CRM system, and they want to control when an opportunity will get a Microsoft team created so that the sales team and pre-sales people can collaborate on that. You can also use it for project management scenarios as well. When will a Microsoft team get created for a particular project? Well, what I'm going to demo, let me share my screen, is how do we do something similar to what you just saw with the Teams Governance app, but around a very specific process. In this case, a project intake process. So I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm looking at Project Online currently, but again, it could be Salesforce, could be Dynamics CRM, could be Project for the Web, it could be any other solution, but it's a more specific process. So in this case, I might want to create a new request for a project. So here's a Power App that's going to collect information about that particular request. So give it a name, who the project sponsor is, the request type. So this is similar to the templates that Aaron was showing you earlier. So with this, we can tie it back to the specific project type. So it doesn't even necessarily mean Microsoft Teams. It could also mean, does this project type have a schedule template? Does it also get Microsoft Teams? Does it get Planner inside that Teams? Again, similar to the template functionality that the Teams Governance app has. We can tie this not just to Teams setup, but also how does Project Online's project get set up in this case. I could fill out the rest of this. I'm just going to go ahead and submit it. At this point, it'll go for an approval process. Now, in this case, we're going to actually send an email for that approval process. So if I go to my email, which I have a lot of windows open right now, but let me open up my email. And I pre-staged one of these earlier, so we don't have to wait too long, but here you can see an example of what one of those emails could look like. So here I have that request. Some of the information that I had put into that request is here in the email itself so that the user or the approver doesn't necessarily have to go and open it. And then they can approve it or reject. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to approve it. And once that request is approved, what it's going to do is go to Project Online. It's going to create a project based on that template that I selected. And then it's also going to create a Microsoft team and then set up that team for project management in this case. So what I'm going to do now is go over here to Project Online. And if I go into the Project Center, looking at our list of projects, we should see our Teams webinar. There it is. So Teams webinar 1. So it's spun up a project over here in Project Online. And it's right now it's building that Microsoft team based on the template that I selected. So if I open up Teams webinar, in this case with integrating it with Project Online, I also wanted to do some other things as well, right? So when Erin was demoing the Teams governance app, one of the things that she was doing when she was requesting a team was saying what would the team membership look like? So she put myself, Josh, Topeka in as team members. For this particular case, we want to make sure that the project team is being synchronized with the Microsoft team. So if I go into here and look at the project schedule, you can see because I picked the IT project template, it has a schedule template pre-assigned and it has some generic roles assigned to my project. But if I want to staff this project, I'm going to go into build a team here. And this is the resource pool on Project Online. So I'm going to pick which individuals are going to take each one of these roles. So I'm just going to hit replace and quickly go through this. Pick different individuals. Let's see, almost done. So who's going to be our tester? I'll make Ray our tester. And then who's going to be the trainer? I'll make Rupinder the trainer. All right. So I've just added all these individuals to my project team. And when I save and close this, it's going to take us back to the project schedule. Now, part of this particular template is we're also creating a Microsoft team with a planner plan attached to it. Now, for the planner interaction, what I want to do is push some of these tasks over there automatically to become task and planner. So when Erin was doing her demo, you saw that she manually created different tasks. But with this, we can actually have it push the tasks that are in the project schedule over the planner so that everybody knows what they're supposed to be working on. So if I go into here, I'm going to edit it in the browser. You'll see it swapped out those roles for the named resources I just selected. All right, so you can see everybody selected here. And then for Planner Sync, I can go into here and say, yeah, I want to synchronize that task over to Planner. So for this template, it's including this Planner Sync capability. That way, based on how I create my project schedule, these resources will know what tasks they're supposed to work on and when, right inside of Microsoft Teams. Same thing here, if I go to the Planner bucket, I'm going to do an Agile type scenario here. So these are going to be part of our Sprint 1. These will be part of Sprint 2. Now these buckets that I'm specifying here, they could also be groups, teams, departments, whatever you would want to set them to. Okay. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and publish these changes. And that's going to push this over into our Microsoft team. So once our publish is done, so I'm just watching up here, so it just completed successfully. I'm going to check the project back in. And I'm going to go over to Teams. So when I go to Teams, Over here, you can see there's our Teams webinar 1 that got created. If I click on the General tab, you can see we've added different tabs or different apps based on the template that I selected. So if I go to the schedule, here we'll see the project schedule template or the project schedule for this project that I was just modifying and updating. Now, if you're the PM inside of Teams here, you can still edit it in the browser. Or if you're a Microsoft Project user, you can still pop it open in Microsoft Project and edit it here. If you're a team member and you have a project license, you get a read-only view of this. And then we also added a tab to the document library for the project documents. And then in Project Online, it also has an issue log and a risk log. So you see 2 tabs for those. And then when we get to Planner, with Planner, it looks like it's still synchronizing, but you're going to start to see those tasks pop in here as well. All right, and that's because I said I was synchronize them. Here they come. All right, so you see all those tasks just pop up, and then they're assigned to whatever the assignments were in the project schedule. They're put into the different buckets.
So Neil, what's the difference between your tab with project documents and then the files? Because I've gone in and done a sync on a team site under the files, so that in my Windows Explorer, you know, it shows up and I can navigate and copy and paste files there in that view if I needed to. What's the difference?
That's a good question. So Project Online spins up its own SharePoint site and it's stored with the project schedule and whatnot.
Got it.
That's really the purpose of this. This is the Project Online's location.
That's the SharePoint folder.
Yeah. Whereas the files here, that just resides within the Microsoft Teams.
Got it.
And really, the reason I recommend setting it up this way is when it comes to your project archiving process, you want to make sure in the Project Online environment, you're grabbing the schedule, the overall SharePoint content, like the documents, all in one shot. You don't want to have your project documentation carried over into a bunch of different Microsoft Teams because now you have to archive all those teams as well.
Right. So is there a way to hide that files?
I wish, but no. Microsoft has it as kind of a systems tab. Okay. So we can't delete it. We can't hide it, at least currently. It is on their roadmap to give us more capabilities with that. But right now, same thing with Post and Wiki. Those 3 are considered system tabs inside of Teams, so you can't change them.
Okay. All right, very good. So just a quick question. I didn't really see, like I saw what you were doing over in Project Online, but I didn't really see where it was told to create the teams.
That was part of that intake app. So when I filled out that request,
I
have an option there.
With automation, the Power Automate behind that?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, got it.
Yep. So with this, I mean, last step with this is for your team members, you know, they're going to know what tasks they're supposed to be working on and whatnot. But with Planner, we can have a Kanban board view and they can just drag and drop and, you know, do their task updates. The one last thing that we have here as part of the automation I'm showing you is we can then pull these updates into the project schedule. So if I go back to the schedule here, you'll see the Get Planner updates. So when I click on that, it's going to update the percent complete on these particular tasks so that you'll know what's been started, what's been finished. For your users, they're just going here to Planner, a much simpler view. They're, you know, sometimes your project teams, if you show them the full Gantt view, that's way too much information for them. It's easier to keep them focused with a more simple view inside a Planner. So that takes a couple seconds. And then the other thing we have here is we'll push out like a little mini project status report into Teams so that you'll have an overall idea what the project status is. So if I go back to the schedule here, there you go. So you can see those updates have been pushed out into the schedule. So again, it gives your team members an easier, more simpler view with Planner, but for you as the PM, it allows you to pull some of those updates in and automate your own updating process. But this is an example of one of those, Teams templates, right? So based on the way we're automating the setup of Teams, every project's going to look the same from a Microsoft Teams perspective. And so they're all going to be set up the same. And then once the PM gets in here, they can then manage it themselves. You can see that the team members have been added automatically.
So Neil, if there was ever a need to pick and choose which projects get a full-on team site, can you do that through that intake, or would that be different?
You can, yeah. Yeah, so if I go back here, the way I'm controlling it in this is depending on the type of request that or the type of project you're requesting, that triggers whether or not a team is going to be spun up for that. So for an IT project, it gets a Microsoft team, a project schedule and project online, a planner plan. A marketing campaign, though, might only need a Microsoft team and planner. It might not need the project. An individual project might just need project for the web or project online and no Microsoft team. So again, it's pretty flexible on how you would want to standardize those types of requests. And then is a team spun up automatically for it.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions with the intake app and the automation behind that?
Okay, so I'm going to ask one other question, sorry. When you do the request type.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in our world, we've got that as tech instead of IT. We've got it as tech because of the financials.
Mm-hmm.
So does the request type have anything to do with the financials?
It can, yeah. I mean, it depends on, it really depends on the specific scenario with the customer. So like for you guys, it probably would, right, at least from a time reporting perspective. We have other customers where they don't really track the financials at all within Project Online. They'll use another app to do that. So that request type would trigger that other app spinning up an entity for that particular project.
Got it. Okay.
But it's very specific to how you would want to set it up as an organization.
Okay.
I think somebody else had a question. Might have been Daniel.
Yeah, I just had a question about that intake piece, or rather what the trigger is to create the team based on that backend flow that you created. Is there a way to trigger that workflow or the creation of that team site off of other systems? Or does that trigger have to come from some sort of an event or an item in the Microsoft environment or platform? So for instance, we have a different platform that we use for some of our deeper project management processes. And so I was just wondering if that platform could be used to then trigger this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're using Power Automate and the Power Platform in the background to do a lot of this. Power Automate, I think currently has like 330 connectors to different apps, both Microsoft and non-Microsoft. So each one of those connectors can have triggers, excuse me, and also actions. So our first thing is we would look at, what does that trigger need to be? So for example, in Salesforce, it might be that an opportunity gets created in Salesforce. So it's not a Microsoft solution, it's a Salesforce solution, but the Salesforce connector provides that. Now, if your solution doesn't have an out-of-the-box connector, what we then look for is, does it have an API? So we can either build a connector using that API, or through like HTTP calls, we can also do triggers and, pulls based on that. In my intake app that I was just showing you, the trigger was an approval. It's just that somebody approved it and that triggered everything to happen. But you can also have it, you know, as a project created, as an opportunity created, as a record created. Any of those kind of things could also be triggers. But it really depends on whether that system either has an out-of-the-box connector or does it have an API that we can leverage to either create our own connector or do an HTTP call.
Right. Okay.
And some triggers too are scheduled jobs, right? So you might have some things that every night it'll get triggered and it'll look for new things that were created that day, and then it spins up Microsoft Teams based on that. So it's pretty flexible.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, I'll hand it back to Aaron and Josh, I guess. Josh? I don't know who's doing the final slide. So there we go.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I think Aaron's going to be sending out a survey shortly in the chat window. Please, if you have time, fill that out for us. We love to know how we're doing, how we could do better, and what you guys want to see more of. And aside from these webinars, if you're looking for information from us, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we're on Facebook, where we're constantly putting up new updates on new applications and upcoming webinars. So please give us a follow and reach out to us if you have any questions at all. But thanks again for spending some of your afternoon this Thursday with us.
Hey, will we be able to find this recording to rewatch it?
Yeah, I can actually send that to you directly, Tina.
Thank you.
No problem at all.
Thanks for y'all's help on this. This was great.
And
There's
I'd like
also
that
recordings
recording
of
as
all
well.
these.
Yeah,
If you guys check
posted
out our
on
YouTube channel, the recording for this will be sent to you guys, but there's also recordings of all of our apps and our past webinars as well, if you check that out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.